You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, Germantown Community Television, your hometown news and information station.
Welcome back. I'm Vince Perryman, and you're watching Legalese. Joining us on our show today is Bill Jones. We're discussing estate planning. Bill, I know you get questions all the time when you're doing simple estate planning as to how is this going to work?
Yeah. Well, we always get questions about what are the tax implications, what's an executor, so on and so forth. When I get a tax question, and that's one of the big questions that we always get, is how much of this is the government going to get? How do we keep this out of the government's hand? I usually get this blank stare on my face, and then I say, okay, we need to call somebody like my friend Vince. We need to call somebody that knows. So, it might be a good opportunity for you now to tell us what are the tax implications there on something.
Well, and some of that depends on where you live. In Tennessee, anything over $1 million it winds up being taxed. And on the federal level right now, anything over $3.5 million winds up being taxed. But there's a big question mark there, because on the federal taxation, it's slated to go away for 2010.
Now, this is the estate tax, right?
The estate tax.
And Congress is going to change this?
Yeah, if they don't fix it, then we wind up with the pre-2001 rules, which lowers the exemption amount and raises the percentage that you pay in tax, which will wind up being a 55% tax if Congress doesn't fix it. But right now, it's going to get fixed before the end of the year in some shape or fashion to where it's not going away for 2010, because we've got too many programs with the economic stimulus stuff going on, and we've got two wars, or conflicts depending on where you're sitting. And with that, we don't necessarily know what's going to go on with it. We're looking at 45% tax rate, maybe $3.5 million as the exemption. So we know that it is going to be there in some shape or form. But still, the same thing is Tennessee's tax doesn't go away in 2010. So it's still at $1 million. So we still know that tax gets there, and that's on a graduated rate from 5.5% to 9.5%, depending on how much you have over $1 million. So with that, there's also the gift tax implications, which you've got a lifetime exclusion of $1 million there, which that gets computed into that 3.5 exclusion for the estate tax. So they're tied together. And as far as gifting goes, you can give up to $1 million in your lifetime, and that is of anything that is over the annual exclusion amount. And the annual gifting exclusion is $13,000. So
this is separate and above from that $13,000
right.
gift. Okay.
So, and this is the thing with these complex planning where we know we're going to have a taxable estate. The goal is to get your estate down to a level that's not as high, so less of it is taxed at these high 45 to 55% tax rates. And this is where you use revocable trusts, but all of these plans have gifting involved in them. And that's something of, the question becomes, well, what's going to be included in my estate? And what's the value of it going to be? Because I bought my home for $20,000 in 1930 or something like that. Well, it's going to be valued at fair market value of the date of death.
So right now, what you're saying is basically it's like looking at a crystal ball as far as the federal government. We know what Tennessee is going to do. We know what our life estate or our life gift tax is going to be. But for the rest of it, it's kind of like asking you to look in a crystal ball. So that probably makes planning difficult.
Yeah, right now it makes planning difficult because everybody's guessing. And, I've heard experts say it's going to be $3.5 million and it's going to stay there and they'll fix this and they'll fix that. And everybody thought it would get fixed before the Bush administration was over. It didn't.
So is this something that folks that have gone in and done you know, they've already gone in, they've seen their attorney, they've come to see you or someone comparable, and they've got these plans done. Is this something that a little bell should be going off in their head when they read that headline, Congress does so and so forth? They should probably dig those documents out, take a look at them, or come in to see somebody and talk to them about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is most of the documents that have been drafted now, we talk about the federal exemption because it's always been a moving target because it changes each year. So we've used language that it will still operate under the whatever the law is, but the question is you know, are you going to wind up being taxable or are you not going to wind up being taxable? And it becomes you know, we're not certain. But what I anticipate is we'll see legislation that goes in.
This is your prediction.
Yeah, my prediction.
Drum roll.
You know, just in December, before the end of the year, that goes and it will make this tax occur. And what's interesting with the estate tax, in its current form, it's only the top 2% wealthiest individuals in America that gets hit with it. But, you know, everybody has the idea that, hey, I'm going to hit the lottery. I don't want to be taxed. So generally constituents aren't big proponents of the estate tax, but when you look at audits on estate tax, dollar for dollar, the government makes more on it. So it's something that's going to stick around. You know, it all becomes the question of what are the exclusions, you know, and we don't necessarily know. You know, and we've got bills pending in Congress, and they can get changed, and it's one of those that you just sort of, you look at it and you're ready to start drafting and dealing with it when it occurs.
But for right now, it's something you're having to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody like me, that's not it's something I've got to follow, but I don't have to keep as close an eye on it because I'm dealing with those estates that are, you know, markedly smaller. But I could see how you'd have to keep up with that on a regular basis.
Right, and that's something that we do track, and you know, when a change happens, we let everybody know. When we return from our break, we'll talk more with Bill Jones about estate planning. Stay with us.